Hi guys, I'm Mime Pacific and welcome back to another episode of the Friday Show. And this time we're going to talk about this kind of digital versus physical game kind of phenomenon that's going on right now. Obviously, you have digital games and physical copies of games, right? And they both kind of have ups and downs and some problems. Like, for instance, digital games cost as much as physical games, even though they use extremely less amounts of materials and do not even need to be shipped to you. So there's one of the things that's going on is, and I'm agreeing with this, is why aren't digital games cheaper? And it's like, that's something that pisses me off as someone who buys digital games, because I don't have time to go to the store. Well, at least I don't have time when GameStop is open to go and buy games. And so I'm sitting here paying just as much as someone who would buy a physical CD, and I'm basically getting a digital license. I'm not even getting a CD or anything. And, you know, I get the game, but then I don't get the disc, I don't get the case, I don't get anything that's actually worth any money other than the game itself. You know, there's copies of games that were on the GameCube that you can find for like $120, $150, and it's the disc, right? I bet you if you had a download version of those games, they would be worth basically like $5. However, another issue that has arisen with the digital distribution of games is the fact that games get released incompleted nowadays, you know? It's just like there's the day one updates and there's all these patches. Like, indie games, I found, don't really have these kind of patches unless they're early access. But AAA games that should be completed are not completed, right? And it's like, stuff gets patched. And, you know, just the other day I installed Modern Warfare Remastered. It was a 41 gigabyte game, you know, so it's pretty decent size. But the amount of updates that had gone on over its release time totaled to an extra 61 gigabytes. So I cleared 40 gigabytes on my 500 gigabyte Xbox, and I had to clear another 61 to get the game installed all the way. But moving on from there, the rise of indie games has come from digital distribution, and it's been a completely amazing thing, you know. Obviously there's games like Minecraft that came out, that Minecraft just was an indie game. But, you know, indie games can really flourish because it's so easy to get them now. You don't need to randomly find homebrew games in a GameStop used section, or you need to just find random games or go to software trades. You don't need to do that to get individual, you know, indie games anymore. Now you can just like look on a website and boom, you probably, you know, you got some games. But from this leads us to early access games, which also comes from digital distribution. Obviously, you can't exactly get an early access game on a CD. Like, it doesn't make sense. But games, you know, are early access, and we've seen some good titles, we've seen some bad titles, and, you know, early access I think is generally a success. But there's a lot of developers that just don't, you know, execute on the early access. They're like, you know, my game's early access, even though that's all they're going to put forth is an early access style title. They're not gonna fix any bugs or anything like that. But I do think the biggest flaw with digital versus physical games is the fact that digital games cost the same as physical games. I buy all my games digitally, and I find that it's unfair for me to not get something that could become extremely valuable. I feel that it's very, very unfair that I am saving resources and I'm, you know, not using those resources. I'm not using the manpower. I'm not even using the gas in my car or, you know, walking. And I still get charged the same amount as the people that buy disc games. And I know that it's probably got something to do with we don't want to close GameStop down. We don't want to close this down. But I think that eventually physical games are going to get outdated. I think that digital is eventually going to take over. And if we speed up that process, it sounds really brutal, you know, oh, we're going to put GameStop out of business. But if we speed up that process, it's going to eventually make it so, you know, internet access will get put into rural areas, you know. areas that are farmlands that don't have good internet access, to play games, they have to then put internet access into those areas. And I think that's a little bit of a crazy idea. I think it's possible, but I also think that it's also possible that that will never happen, and then farmers and stuff like that are gonna get screwed over who want the game. And so, it's a very interesting double-edged sword that, digital distribution of games. It's a very interesting double-edged sword. So I'd like to hear you guys' opinions down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new, because this is the Friday show, uploaded every single Friday. I've been trying to do 2 videos a day, but I might have to kind of do 1 every other day kind of deal. So instead of 14, you're gonna get 10 or 11 videos, but whatever. I'm Pacific. See you guys in the next episode of whatever I decide to make.